Hi, I'm Jim Hendricks. I'm staff editor with Boating and Saltwater Sportsman magazine. And today we are doing Next Marine. This is a broadcast that takes a look at emerging technologies and perhaps even what the future might hold for recreational boating. So I have with me today Andrew Semprevivo. He is president and CEO of Seakeeper, which is a global leader in stabilization. Now, Andrew, you've spent virtually a lifetime in the marine industry. I understand you got started at an early age in the marine industry. Tell me a little bit about how you developed this passion for marine and boats and for Seakeeper.
Yes, I grew up in South Jersey on the canal and spent every waking hour I could as a young kid getting out on my little John boat. It's something I loved from day one. And as you said, was fortunate enough to start my career very early and turn that passion into what is now a lifelong profession. So age 13, had my first job at a local marina and worked my way through high school, college there, and then worked with Viking Yacht Company, and then came over to Seakeeper in 2008 when we commercialized our first product, the Gyro stabilizer.
Outstanding. Since 2018. So you served in various roles with Seakeeper, both as on the sales side and the product development side. Of course, now you've ascended to the helm as CEO and president of Seakeeper. That's great. And I just wanted to let everybody know that you're just not somebody who came in as a president from the very beginning. You worked your way up in the organization and you worked your way up through the marine industry, and it's an industry that you love. So I'm glad to have you.
When we started in 2000, it was 5 of us in a house when we started in 2008. So we have a bunch of titles and job responsibilities at that time.
Outstanding. You had to do everything at the company. That's great to hear. So Seakeeper really built its reputation in the gyroscopic stabilization market. I would say, to a certain extent, I could say Seakeeper kind of invented that market. Certainly you've become closely associated with gyroscopic stabilization systems. Now, tell us how we're here today to talk mainly about the ride system, the Seakeeper Ride system, but I don't want our viewers to get confused between the gyroscopic stabilization and what the ride system is. So could you kind of share with us what the major differences are between these two systems?
All right. So the Seakeeper Gyro Ride both provide transformational boating experience, but in very different ways. So the gyro is mounted inside the vessel, and it uses gyroscopic torque to fight boat roll, cyclical boat roll, that predominantly is problematic at slow speeds. And the ride system is mounted external of the boat, and it is addressing your motions while you're underway. So there is water flowing off of the transom bottom, and our controllers are moving up and down at rapid pace, creating lift, and therefore adjusting that running angle, list angle of the boat, and providing real-time underway stabilization. So those are the two major differences. Boat sizes today on the gyro side were like 27 to 150 feet, and versus today on the ride side where we're 18 to 19 feet up to approximately 35 feet today.
Thank you. And I guess the closest thing that most boaters might associate the ride system with are nowadays could be trim tabs or interceptor systems that kind of do the same thing. But the ride system, I've spent time with you on the boat using it, so I know what it can do. But it looks and behaves differently than just about any other trim system that I've seen on the market. Explain the major difference between the ride actuators and the trim tabs and the ride system and interceptors for me, please.
Yes. Well, I think the big thing, at 30,000 feet, it's not a trim system such as those other devices. It's really a full underway stabilization device, but they are both mounted on the transom, and they do both use water flowing off the hull bottom to create lift, and therefore adjust, again, the running angle or list angle of the boat. Now, anyone who's been on the boat has probably had experience with trim tabs and know that you can manually adjust them to change. And for us, it's changing that 100 times per second, again, in real time, to provide full stabilization and not just change the running angle or list angle, but actually reduce the pitch and roll motions, which has really never been done before. And that took the sophistication of not only the packaging, but the controller itself. So the actuator, in terms of the package, the power, speed, and a full controls and software package that we had to develop from ground up for the sophistication in which we are, having to perform at to reduce those motions. And, if you're not fast enough or you don't control it well enough, you end up inducing motion, which of course is nowhere you want to be.
Right, you can often overcorrect with trim tabs. I've experienced that myself on my own boat. So describe for the viewers exactly what the performance improvements they can expect from the ride system. And it's, by the way, I have to add, it's fully automatic. So once it's set, it does everything for you. But can you describe those performance improvements?
Yeah, and those were the two things that we set out to do, is these first two, because there's other benefits too, but it's really the first two. And one is that pitch roll stabilization. So we're reducing underway pitch and roll motions by up to 70%. And, it's wild. It's hard to explain. You look at the graphs, it's hard to grasp. You really have to get on the boat and feel it. We always ask people, how does it feel now that you've been off a demo or now that you have it? And they say, my boat feels 5 to 10 foot bigger. So again, there's not a great way of capturing the feeling on. You really have to get on the boat, but it is wild. It's transformational. You hit the button and it feels like a complete different boat or a complete different day. And then to the second point of what you just brought up, it was really important that we made this intuitive. We want to get people into boating. We want to keep them boating, and boating is a bit daunting. You have a lot going on and a lot you have to control. And, we felt not only this pitch roll stabilization would be transformational, the idea that you never have to touch a button again, like your anti-lock brakes in your car, you're not sitting there constantly adjusting. Why should you have to make constant adjustments of your running angle and list angle on the boat? So those two things we set out to do, and very proud that the team, was able to accomplish both today.
Right. When I was out on the demo with you on the company boat, the one thing that I noticed was the way I gauged how well it was performing was I would look at the bow and I would see how the bow related to the horizon, and both with the system in auto mode and with the system turned off. And what I noticed is with the system in auto mode, the bow would vary, the distance off the horizon would vary very little. There was practically no change in that distance. But once you turn it off, now the bow was coming up and down and up and down, and that's one of the most exhausting parts of being on a boat, is that kind of up and down pitch motion. And the system pretty much eliminated all of that. What are the major components in the ride system, and how do they work in coordination with each other?
So we have on the back what we call our controller assembly, and that is the actuator itself, as well as we're using SMC parts for the components that are the seal plate, where they mount on the transom, and the blade. So different than a trim tab, right, or an interceptor that comes down, ours has, it's a rotary actuator that has a cup-like blade that enables the fast actuation needed to reduce those motions. And then from the transom, coming from the actuator into the boat, is a distribution module, which you have power into. And then from the distribution module, proprietary feed, up to our software module, which is really the brain. Inside that software module, it's really doing three things. One is Seakeeper sensing package. So that's doing those 1,000 calculations per second, or sensing, the boat in all axes. And then we have a Seakeeper micro-coded control unit that is in charge of taking those calculations and what are the 100 outputs that we want to do each second to control those motions. And then the third is a Linux-based system that is broadcasting all of that up on your MFD. So that is all within the software module. And then we have an optional keypad, that you can use if you want to make manual adjustments. Most often it's just used to kind of turn it on and off so you can wow people. But I mean, the fact of, again, is you don't need the keypad. And I would say 80-90% of the product we're selling today has no keypad at all. And again, for us, it was not only transform the boating experience, by the pitch roll, it was get on the boat and make it easier for someone to operate.
Right. And in previous discussions, we talked about the need or lack of the need to calibrate the system once it's installed. It basically kind of learns your boat from the beginning.
Yeah, and that was a real tough part of the development. There was a lot to it. We used a database of 25,000 boats that fortunately we had on the gyro side to understand, a lot about how each of them perform. But it also took a lot of on the water testing. And when we finally had our first wow, it was with a actuator similar to what we have, but it was completely customized for that given platform at that given speed in that given heading. And for us, we wanted to make sure that this was a product that really accomplished two things. One, it was super easy for a builder or dealer or even eventually an end user to install it. And that's not only the mechanical components and how they fit, but the commissioning customization. So we wanted to make that automatic. So you put this on the boat and it doesn't matter what speed, what heading, right? What size controller you put on what size boat, that it's going to provide the optimal amount of lift every single time that thing moves. All 100 times per second it's moving, it's providing that optimal output. And that was really tricky in finding ways to overcome that and get away from the customization. But yes, today you put this product on the boat and there is zero that you have to do as a builder or dealer or end user. You just go off and run and enjoy.
So that sounds great. But I know some viewers are saying, well, it may be fully automatic, but can I manually adjust the system? Is that possible?
You can. So there's two ways you could, kind of say manually adjust. One is the keypad itself. So you can turn it on or off. Some of the other things that you can do if you're running and then say you wanted to run with the list. So you wanted to heel the boat over, maybe say wind or you wanted to stay dry. You can heel the boat over and then it would stabilize at that list angle. The other is if you wanted to run more bow down or more bow up, you can adjust that as well. But like I said, you find most of the people never make adjustments at all. The other adjustment that you can make through the MFD is whole shot. So, get up on plane as fast as you can. One, fuel, performance, but also safety. Sometimes boats have a trouble getting over that hump. You lose sight of the horizon. So we want to get over that hump as fast as possible. So there are adjustments that you can make hull specific if you wanted to try to optimize that further.
So I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but can you tell us what type and size boats the ride system currently is best suited for?
Yes, so monohulls today, and really, 18, 19 to approximately 35 feet. But from there, it's diversity of all hull designs, uses. So we have aluminum, fiberglass that we have done, commercial boats, recreational boats, slower speed, 25 mile an hour boats up to 70 mile an hour, trip engine step hulls. So really the entire gamut. And, what we've seen across it is very similar performance in terms of that wow experience when you hit the button.
So when will Ride be available for boats larger than 35 feet?
Yeah, everyone's asking that question. It was a strategic decision we made as part of the development. So when we launched Seakeeper early on, the idea was we wanted to forever change boating for everyone, and that keyword everyone. And we worked really hard to bring the gyro down in size range, getting to today approximately 27 feet. And when we kicked off the ride development, it was a much easier path if we decided to start with big boats. One, there's more willingness to pay. Obviously, Seakeeper name is more well known on the larger craft. The boat motions are slower. Margins, just everything would have been a lot easier to start there and work your way down. But for us, again, we were set out to transform that boating experience for everyone. So we started at entry-level boats. I'm really proud that today, right, some of the most entry-level boats that people buy come with our system standard. But yes, we have a lot of demand for the product on the larger craft, and we're going to constantly push, to bring Seakeeper Ride up in size range to larger and larger boats, similar to what we did with the Gyro and bringing it smaller and smaller. So I would say stay tuned. It probably won't be long. You'll see something hitting the market soon that will get us onto larger craft.
All right. Well, as an owner of a 21-foot boat, I'm glad you started on the smaller side of the market. kept us small boaters in mind. What sizes are the actuators available in to suit different sizes of boats?
So today we have 3 sizes. So 450 millimeter, 525 millimeter, and 600 millimeter. And they're really sized the 450 up to 26 feet. And then the 525, 27 to 30. And then the 600, 31 up to, 35, 36 feet is how the products are sized today. And one of the things we've done, is go wider span than maybe some of the systems. And the reason is, the wider you go, you get a better lift versus drag ratio in terms of going wider versus deeper. And that's why we've picked and elected to have more span versus more dwell.
I've noticed, in watching videos of the actuators move, first of all, I'm amazed they move with blinding speed. So they're constantly, adjusting independently of each other back and forth to maintain the boat's pitch, as well as equalize any list or stabilize the boat from any list that might be inherent there. So I'm just always amazed at how fast they are working, but they don't go too far down into the water either. I mean, they don't, I don't know how far down they plunge into the water, but it doesn't seem to take much for those actuators to actually affect the ride of the boat, correct?
Yeah. So, and that's the beauty of it. So the full dwell is 1 inch, but, the fact is that you don't typically use that full inch. So when we look across our sea trials, where we're looking at actual blade position over a period of time, it's typically in the 0.1 to 0.3 inch. Now, you'll have several deployments where it goes down for microseconds fully, but then it's fully retracting, getting out of the way. And the intent is to get the bow down when you need it on that wave encounter, but then get it up where you don't. So you don't sacrifice speed, efficiency, but you still get to use that sharp part of the entry at wave impact. So yeah, they move very fast. And again, it doesn't need a lot of depth, especially as you get more span to generate a lot of lift.
Right. That's interesting. So the question, and I've asked you this before, so I kind of know the answer, but I want the viewers to hear the answer as well. Can the ride system make a poor riding boat perform like a good riding boat, or at least improve the ride of a poor riding boat?
Yes, I mean that's a hard question because what is a poor riding boat? But what we've seen, and I wouldn't classify these as poor riding. It's a bit, hull dynamics. But a couple of the things that it does immediately is boats, right, with a natural running list, typically odd engine platforms, right? It fully addresses that, so an end user never sees or experiences that list. With a lot more horsepower, put on the aft of these boats, extended platforms. Sometimes you have a little bit of a bow light effect where, right, the ride system is going to totally address that light bow feel without having to dig tabs in the water constantly and have that drag and impact on speed and fuel. The other thing that is done, is, and again, I don't think of these as bad hull designs, but if you look at like a very deep V narrow hull, there's a lot of advantages to it, but they're a bit more tender. And the Ride system is perfect on that platform as it addresses that that one downside of being how tender, again, because of how deep dead rise and how narrow. And then also the thing that we have found is boats that have shallower dead rise, that sometimes, may run rougher than the deep dead rise. What we're doing is pushing that bow down when you need it. So you're getting that bow down sharp entry at the impact and then getting up where you don't. I would say you get the benefits of a flatter aft running surface of the speed efficiency without as much of the pound drawback that you typically would. So I think it impacts all hulls different. It takes some of those drawbacks and makes a bad boat better. But equally, we've seen you take the best boats and they equally provide a wow step change once you're on there and you hit that button.
I'm going to harken back to the demo that you and I did together, where we were outside some pretty rough seas outside Fort Lauderdale during the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, and we had 3 or 4 people on board besides the skipper, and we lined everybody up on the starboard side, on the starboard gunnel, and we turned the system off, and the boat took a serious list to starboard. And then we turned the system on, and within a second or two, the boat corrected that list and ran on an even keel. And then we did, of course, on the other side, and it had the same effect. So now I know when you talk about a deep V boat that rides really smooth, but tends to be tender, the system reacts very quickly. Even people can move about the boat. That's the one thing on boats that I've run with trim tabs is you get the trim tab set and the boat's running on an even keel, but then somebody gets up and decides they're going to move to the other side of the boat because they're getting wet on this side or that side. And then all of a sudden now the boat's listing to one side or the other, and then you got to go back in and start fixing the trim tabs again to get and then they'll move back to the other side. Now you're playing with the trim tabs, all the while trying to run the boat in rough seas. So having the ability to automatically run on an even keels is a great benefit, I think.
Yeah, and the captain's getting frustrated, yelling at the passengers to sit down. Yeah, I've been there. I think, and one of the things just to make sure clarify, the list that you said, and then it very quickly fixed it, was when we were turning the system on off. One of the things I think you'll see if you go out on the boat, unlike some other systems on the market today, where you have 2 different levels. There's a list where you can manually adjust. Or, some devices, there'll be a list and it will slowly adjust it for you. The idea of our system is that it never lists at all. So if you run from one side to the other, our goal is not to take that list and automatically correct it. It's to correct it before the list ever occurs. And the only way to do that, again, is with that fast actuation, very similar to how you reduce the constant roll rates and angles that you see underway.
Yeah. You point taken. We were turning the system on and off just to see what the difference was, but you would never experience that when you have that in full automatic mode. So a number of boat builders are choosing to make the Ride system standard equipment on their boats as original factory equipment. Can you name some of the boat brands that Seakeeper is now working with to make that possible?
Yeah, so we have several, and I'd say there's several more coming online here for model year 25. But we have Sportsman, Chris Craft, Scout, Jupiter, Reef Runner, Blue Water, Galleon. The list goes on. We have close to 20 OEMs today that are offering the product, and when I say not offering it as an option, standard equipment fit on every boat that they build. QS, I'm not sure if I mentioned, is another one. But coming here in model year 25, as I said, it's going to more than double in terms of the models that will be coming fit with Seakeeper as standard. And that was really important to us, that it was standard versus optional. And, it's how we launched. And we really wanted to align ourselves with builders, that believe in that transformational experience, want to provide customers the best possible experience to get people in boating and keep them boating. And fortunately, as people experienced the product, they were on board and aligned with us that is transformational, and they don't want their customers experiencing their boat any other way.
Yeah, I can fully understand that. And when it comes as just standard equipment, it's a wonderful thing to have. But some of us haven't bought new boats lately, and including me. I have an older boat, and so what about the aftermarket? If you have an existing boat, an older boat, can the Seakeeper Ride be put on an older boat and function as it would on a new boat?
Absolutely. So today, roughly 50% of every product we ship is going onto a aftermarket application, and costs again the gamut of boats. So well over 100 brands that we have put product on in the aftermarket world. We have a global network that can do the installations and support.
We're going to install and test a Seakeeper Ride system on my 1986 Cabo 216. So it's not even close to being new, but it'll be. I don't trust myself to install it. I think we're going to have some installers put it in, because I know that the actuators. The good thing about the actuators is you really don't have to drill any holes in the transom, which is a huge benefit, because you're not going to get any water intrusion in there and possibly allowing the transom to rot. So it attaches in a unique manner. Can you kind of describe how the actuators install on the transom?
Yep. So we use a methaculite to adhere them to the transom, which is the transom plate. And then it comes with a wedge back that used to adjust for the various transom angles to get that seal plate flush with the bottom. Which of course is important for optimal performance. But we choose to go with the methaculite rather than the mechanical fasteners, which I know people are like, wait, glue? And, I had the same when I joined Seakeeper in 2008. We were gluing the gyro into the foundation with 0 mechanical fasteners. So that just gives you an idea how strong that adhesive is.
Right. Well, we're gonna have an opportunity to show our readers and our viewers exactly how it works in video and in the magazine. So we'll show them how it installs, how the system works together, and then get out there on the water and sea trial it and show them exactly what the differences are with and without the Seakeeper Ride system turned on.
I can't wait to hear the feedback here. And I said about 50% of the business today is aftermarket. It to me. It's my favorite part, in that you get a new boat, right? And it's great. It's a new boat and you're exciting and it rides awesome. But, what we really love to hear is people who love their boat and have spent countless hours on their boat, then put the product on and experience the transformation of kind of what it was to what it is. So, hearing those aftermarket stories keeps us going, that's for sure.
Well, I'm even more excited after hearing that from you. So, where can our viewers and our readers learn more about the Seakeeper Ride system?
So you go to ride.seakeeper.com. Put together a great site, a lot of information there. And then, of course, too, you could always call and ask any questions that you have. And I say to everyone, owe it to yourself, try to get out on a boat. You can listen to me, you could go to the website, you can watch the videos, read the reports, all good source of information. But it's nothing like getting out and experiencing and hitting that button and feeling it. So we have also on our site a demo tour where we're going all around the country that you can see and sign up for. So encourage you to do so.
Oh yeah, well, I would love to do it, but I've already done it, and I believe in the system. It's great, it really is, and I can't wait to have a system put onto my boat and experience the benefits for myself. So. Once again, Andrew, thank you so much for spending the time with our viewers, talking about really this new technology, and it really is new technology, and certainly portends great things for the future of recreational boating. So for Next Marine, I'm Jim Hendricks.